When we have finished with the world, the work we are doing, and everything is in order, everyone behind a door with a number on it. When we have filled up all the spaces, and there are no more flowers or trees, and no more grass to roll on, and no more smells of dampness in autumn, I wonder, where will the squirrels be, and where the children? And I wonder, where will laughter be? Will it be forgotten, along with birdsong and insects buzzing? When we have finished with the world, all built and completed, and a place for everything, what will we do, I wonder, with the small creatures we used to call children?
A council housing estate in Islington, London. Anonymous, drab, and uninspired. An island of dull red brick bounded on every side by hurrying commuters and hurtling lorries. Parents and children trapped in an urban jungle. Not even the estate's own piece of grey-black tarmac is safe for long. Islington has the least play space of any London borough. For these children, the nearest park is a mile of busy roads away. Most parents, understandably, won't let their children go that far.
6 lanes of traffic out here. The wide and Holloway Road, we've got Caledonian Road, we've got every road you can mention. They're all main roads around here. It's off an island we live on.
The bigger boys have little else to do but fight and wrestle or throw a ball around. But that doesn't make them very popular.
They're chased the old time. The porter's out there, you can't play ball, you can't do this. Then there's the neighbours complaining about the children, telling them to so-and-so off. They're getting swore at all through the summer. The children get swore at by the people in the flats.
But don't you think you call me dirt, you'll get slapped in the big Nero.
Go on, you go home. Get your hair cut. Go on, get home. Get your hair cut. And a bath.
Because they don't know where to play, ain't got nowhere to play. So we play football out here, the damnedest things, and then all the old bags open the window. We can't play football, can you see? Because it's either the football coming or it's the caretaker. No, but in the swings, and if we play in it or go near a car, we get told we just move near a car, right? And they'll go, get away from our son's car!
For almost a year, just behind the flats, an old woodyard and scout hall have lain empty and derelict. Whenever the boys have had enough of being shouted at by irate neighbours, they retreat here. The council have plans to build flats, a car park and a new scout hall on the site. The parents don't like their children playing here. It's too dangerous, they say. They've asked the council to fence it off securely. But nothing happened until one day.
Last April, a boy called Robert and my son Christian came in here, climbed over the wall, came in here, got into the scouts hall, climbed up on the roof, and there was some asbestos roofing left by Islington Borough Council. Robert jumped from the roof of the scouts hall through the asbestos roof and died. And I thought, I was so lucky, you know, that my son was alive. It could have been him. But, you know, I should do something. I went to other mothers on the estate and asked, you know, if they'd help me. I didn't get anybody for a while, and I kept going. And eventually I went to Mrs. O'Mahony, I went to Mr. and Mrs. Jor, and I got roughly 18 people.
Phyllis Kershaw, shocked into action by the death of her son's friend, began to organise.
The council haven't given us any permission, anything at all, so we're just going in and taking it.
Yeah, all right.
All right, then?
Yes.
Come on, let's go.
Soon she had other parents, like Mrs. O'Mahony, helping her.
You're coming with me now.
The movement of angry mothers grew. They decided that since the council wouldn't act, they should take over the empty woodyard themselves and turn it into an adventure playground. So one day, in the middle of July, just before the school holidays were due to begin, Phyllis Kershaw and her supporters went into action. Like a new day Pied Piper of Hamelin, she led her motley band of mothers and children to lay claim to a play space of their own. For 5 weeks, they tried to negotiate an agreement with the council. But the moment the mothers started making their demands, the council announced that they must begin the building work planned for the site immediately. To the parents, the plan seemed nonsense. Flats they could understand, but why a large car park? And anyway, the contractors wouldn't need the whole site immediately, so why shouldn't the children have a corner of it for the next 6 weeks? Their patience had run out. They were going to make this site theirs, whatever the council said.
I'm not going in. Oh, yes, you are. I'm not. I'm in enough trouble.
And we've been up here. Be careful, please.
When it comes to working really hard, there's all the difference in the world between a place that's provided for you and a place you make yourself. Next morning, while the children were at school, some of the mothers met on the site to discuss what next needed to be done. Unexpectedly, 2 well-dressed gentlemen appeared. They were officials from the council, sent to find out what on earth was going on.
What is going to happen? I mean, we are intending to take this piece of ground ourselves. Other than
well, you're trespassing for a start.
Yes, well,
you
we realise
understand that?
we know that we're trespassing.
Well, come 7 days' time, they will really set to demolish this. So, I mean, there's no place for children.
We are going to do our utmost to see that you don't develop that piece of ground down there. We need that for our children. Why can't we have it for our children?
The workmen left those holes there. They left the holes there with water in them that one of the children could have fell in and drowned. We have to come in and fill this in to make sure our children don't die.
He's not giving us a direct answer why we
never
cannot
do,
have the
Maureen.
ground
They
for
never
our
do.
children.
Because it has been let to a demolition contractor who's preparing to demolish it.
No, just a minute. We had a child die because Islington Borough Council wouldn't pull the asbestos roofing there.
Oh, well.
And
Yes,
no,
we
it's
did.
not.
You never put
and started
the
demolishing
fencing
this.
up when we asked
When
for
we
either.
said that we were going to take this ground over as an adventure playground, you moved in with your bulldozer and started demolishing it. Our children have to cross main roads and get killed
Oh,
when there's a
that's
piece
not
of ground that is
This isn't-
available there. There is a
This isn't
piece
a
of
question
ground.
for me to
That's only for
answer.
cars, isn't it? That's only for motor cars. There is a piece of ground available. Don't say it isn't, because we've seen the plans.
You've seen the plans?
Yes.
Yes, we have seen
It's for a
the plans.
council and a We've parking seen the lot. plans. We've Cars taken are not before the alterations kids. for the plans. Why should there be parking space for 90 cars when there can't be a small area cut off for the children? Why don't you answer the questions that you're given?
These are not my...
You're just avoiding them all the
Oh, yes,
time.
I'm afraid I am. This is not my question.
No, but well, you should give us a direct
I-
answer.
no, no, no.
It wasn't going to be
The
developed.
police inspector in charge of the local station was the next to appear. The mothers, expecting trouble, had phoned the inspector earlier and got him on their side.
This is the trouble. You see, you get onto one department to talk to you, and they say, excuse me, I'd like you to...
Hello, darling.
How are you? I'm very well, thank you, Mrs. Leading. Mrs. Kershaw is the chairman, so I'd like you to speak to her, yes.
Oh, right. Well, now, look, you telephoned me this morning.
Yes.
I told you what I was doing, and I told you I'd come and see you.
Yes.
This site is being cleared by the demolition people.
Mm-hmm.
And until it's cleared, nobody will give any decision. So I have to ask you all to leave, you know. All right?
Yes.
So if you don't mind, and then what you discuss with me on the telephone, I'll come and see you about and we'll sort out.
Yes,
all right?
that's fair enough, yes.
Okay, then?
The council had given the order to close off the site. Before, no one had cared too much if children wandered in and played unsupervised. Now, suddenly, security was vitally important. Officialdom was threatened. But that wasn't going to stop the tenants.
Nailing up this is not going to deter us at all. We'll only just take it down and enter it again.
You're just going to take it
Yes,
down
we're
and go in
going to
again?
enter that ground again.
Do you think the other mothers will feel the same as you
Yes,
do?
they'll all stick beside us, and I feel we'll get all the support we need. We are feeling now that we are going to march on to Town Hall now, with the aid of the police.
When do you think you'll do that?
At the next council meeting, Thursday evening on the 29th, we are going to get as many children as we possibly can, and we're going to organise a march onto the Town Hall and hand them in papers stating that we want this piece of land for our children. But what's more needed?
The council workmen hammered away under the watchful supervision of the police. But privately, the police were sympathetic to the tenants' cause, and they were prepared to turn a blind eye to any plans the mothers had to tear down the barricade and reoccupy the site. And so, when the invading forces returned that evening, the police were noticeably absent.
No, 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 no.
The school holidays were due to begin the following day, and the children worked to build a wall to separate off their corner of ground.
There's a gap in the fence there.
By the next day, the first day of the holidays, things were really beginning to move. An adventure playground was no longer a dream. It was there. Struts and bars, ropes and tires. Most important, it was all their own work. While the children played, the mothers were carrying the fight to the town hall. That morning, the town clerk had sent them a letter telling them to get off the site. The mothers replied with an ultimatum. Unless the council could find them an alternative, they were staying put. To make sure the letter arrived on the right desk, they decided to deliver it by hand to the councillor who was responsible for making the final decision. And they sent copies of their letter to the press.
The Islington Journal trying to get a reporter up here, and the Islington Gazette, Evening Standard are going to do a story on it this evening in this evening's paper. Nationwide are going to get in touch with me as regards to getting an open discussion on television.
But while the parents and children were basking in the photographer's attention, the council had been busy putting out its version. It persuaded the local paper to run a story arguing that the parents were holding up a £500,000 plan for homes. The council quickly followed up this shrewd publicity with a letter to all the members of the estate offering a compromise. It was that the council should pay for a play leader to work on the sterile tarmac adjoining the flats, far from most children's idea of an adventure playground. The next day, the tenants held a meeting to discuss the council's offer. The suggested compromise, coupled with the adverse publicity, divided the parents.
I am moving out from this meeting and pulling out of the whole, what would you call it, affair, because I've accepted the council's offer.
Nothing happened until you started that bit of a ruckus last week, and the minute you started that ruckus, they are the first written letters we have had from the town hall, because people went back and told the town hall we were being divided. Before that we were united. The trouble that we were split up, this woman did. And she's not even on our committee. She doesn't live in our place.
Your wife asked me to join, but I'm not.
You come over and said you join us.
I've never said that I've been on your committee. Never.
We never said you were on our committee.
But you come over and said, I've never said I was on the committee.
To join our association.
That's right, I would, for the benefit of our children. And I feel that what you're doing is not benefiting my children. Thank you very much. All right? Thank you.
You say we continue?
Yeah.
I think the next best thing is to go around every flat on the estate, ask for the signatures all over again, how many people want the woodyard for the children. Then we can take this, plus our children, plus the children's signatures, to the town hall on Thursday with the march. Is that fair enough?
The petition and march idea re-galvanized the parents, and their new enthusiasm was quickly transmitted to the children. Before long, every child on the estate who could write his name had signed. There was no question of disunity among the children. Excitement was mounting again. That day brought some other good news, the headline in the rival local newspaper. Later that day, the mothers met the police inspector. He'd been trying to persuade the town hall that a good playground kept kids out of trouble, and that that was important in a neighbourhood which had one of the highest juvenile crime rates in London. Now he was helping them plan the march.
I should probably have 3 at the back of the march, because 3 policemen stand at the back of the march does deter motorists from being stupid.
The day of the long-awaited march had arrived. The children had been up late the night before making banners. Surely this, they all felt, would make the council change its mind.
Come on, you're coming.
I'm sorry, stay with him.
Stand there with me, will you? Hold me in.
Start.
You've got to keep in for the curb, no out in the road. Come on. I'll give you that.
separate petition from the children?
From the children. That's just from the children.
What? How many do you want? How many do you want? 4? This lady up here. Whoa, here. Whoa, here you are. This lady. It's the deputy mayor.
For your signatures. Do you live in that area?
We don't have any better.
Where do you live?
Holloway Place.
And where did you used to play before you played on this playground?
Street.
Don't you have a playground in the flats? No, I thought there were two there.
Yeah, we have the swings, but the swings are always tied up in the on the bars, and we can't even swing on them.
And would it be better, do you think, if you had an adventure playground in the flats?
Much better. It'd be much better for the little children.
And you'd like that, would you? And you
yeah.
But the smiles of the deputy mayor meant nothing. Perhaps the vast majority of councillors saw the march as simply as a bunch of council tenants and their children who could safely be ignored. At a council meeting later that evening, not one councillor spoke up to give the parents' point of view, and the council decided by a vote of 70 to none that their demands couldn't be met. The town hall was not even listening. I spoke to Councillor Southgate, deputy leader of the council, and asked him why it was the council had so categorically rejected the parents' demands.
Well, the principal reason that it's difficult, almost impossible for us to allow them to have it for the duration of the summer holidays is that we have a building scheme here which is in its cost so close to the cost controls the ministry impose on us that if the building scheme doesn't start on the 16th of August and indeed is delayed anything beyond about a week beyond that date, the scheme will have to be completely redesigned. Now that means we can't start building here for probably 13 to 15 months, and we shall double our costs on fees, for instance.
While the children had been occupying the site, an independently financed community worker had been helping the parents by investigating the council's plans. Chris Holmes.
But I believe that this playground could be fitted in without stopping that contract starting when it needs to start and the homes being built to time. And no one's yet made any arguments in public, at least, or that I've heard, which proves that it would be impossible. I think it would be possible for the demolition work to proceed on those parts of the site where the majority of the demolition still has to be done, and that's got to be completed before any building work can start at all. Now, this could only be discovered by sort of negotiations with the contractors to see if there was a way in which the wishes of the Tenants Association and the children could possibly be met, and it seems that's not been done.
But nothing would shift the town hall at this stage, and the next evening some of the councillors were delegated to give the news of the council's decision to the tenants. It seemed as if it was the end of the road.
You won yesterday in those changes, don't worry about that. Nobody could have fought as hard as what you did. Don't give up. Run away with the idea. Get rid of where you haven't lost. We haven't. We haven't. What's going on with the woodyard, Monday? All right, wait a minute. Don't be so stupid. We would all go with you, Monday. I would. Let them...
The decision made, the council had moved fast. Within hours, the hopes and aspirations of the parents and children were being smashed into tiny fragments.
Well, my own children was crying. Even the children that I used to take to the playground, they came to me crying, and they still wanted to go on the woodyard, even when they knew the bulldozers was in. little children came to me and they asked if they could still go there. And when I went down to the gate, there was a lot of children standing round the gate still, and I was calling them away.
Big cry, you know, because we lost it. I think it, well, really, not. I don't suppose it's for the old ones, but the little ones, really, because they lost all the things to play with and that.
And
what
how
we
do you
made.
feel about it, Christian?
It's wrong because we ain't got nowhere to play. We ain't got nothing to do. Anything we do, we get moaned at. Don't kick the ball too high. We only kick it at a blue fence. It's no good, is it? I mean, all they've got to play with now is their bikes, and we was going to look forward to all the things that we built to play with. In the adventure playground, you got swing tyres, build things, paint and everything, can't you? Well, you know what I mean? It's more adventurous. It's more adventurous.
The dull routine of council estate life returned to normal. The whole estate seemed to sense the weight of defeat. What was the use of fighting the council sophisticates when you were only the tenants of a housing estate? Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Chris Holmes had been trying to get things moving again.
I think the only role that a community worker has in that situation is primarily a background role, a supportive role, trying to discover what the kind of thinking is behind the actions of the council. But especially when negotiations break down, and there was at one stage...
And they did break down.
They did break down very badly. At the time of the council meeting and the local meeting the following evening. I think after that it was necessary to try and unearth some new arguments. It wasn't something that I did primarily, but I think a number of actions, discovering that the advice that was given to the members of the council was not in fact a full picture of the situation.
Advice given to the councillors by their
officials, yes. For example, the fact that it was not true that the council would lose £1,000 a week if certain parts of the estate was cordoned off and given to the parents. Or the fact that the amount of parking space in the new development was not something laid down by law, but was discretionary to the council. I think those possibilities, reopened especially in discussion with Councillor Southgate and one or two others, laid a situation in which a discussion could begin again between the tenants of the estate and the members of the council.
The parents and children had come to that Chris Holmes had dug up gave them fresh. And so once more the barricade came down and a new occupation had begun. By now the bulldozers had gone. The site was completely clear. The mothers and children were able to take advantage of a lull in the contractor's work and restate their claim. There weren't quite so many of them now. A lot were still dispirited and disheartened, but those that came were determined. The last time I saw you, you were crying, you felt defeated, there was no hope, yet today you've decided to retake the site for the adventure playground. Why have you decided to come back to it?
Well, like Mr. Romani said, like all good soldiers, we retreat and then we come back fighting.
And you're prepared to stay on the site now?
Yes,
What's going to happen if the police come along today and kick you off?
We'll come back in again.
But surely if you go on doing this and the council have expressly forbidden you to take over the site, you'll be arrested.
No, that doesn't make any odds. We have prepared for all this. We have people that will bail us out. We have people that will look after our children. Everything's been arranged.
So you're prepared to go to prison if necessary?
Yes,
The new occupation quickly reached the ears of the council. Emergency meetings were called. Then on the Friday, letters supporting the occupation appeared in the local paper. The pressure was building up. Public opinion was beginning to support the tenants. 3 days later, there was an editorial, and more letters. The council's case for refusing the site was by now publicly shot through with holes. The council grew increasingly embarrassed. Even the building contractor was arguing that the tenants' demands could be accommodated. And what would it look like if the council gave the order for the children to be evicted and the mothers arrested? Whichever way the council tried to move, it could see no way of escape. The parents and children had won.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for you're supposed to get the woodyard. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for you're supposed to get the woodyard.
5 days after the reoccupation, 28 days after the fight began, it was theirs. And not just for the summer holidays, but for always.
We had an obligation to provide the Scouts with a site in return for the one they had given up. And I found, when I came back from my holiday, that in fact the development on the Scout site was by a separate developer, wasn't controlled in the cost way like our site was controlled, and was in fact, the development there wasn't in fact to start until the day that the schools went back.
You were let down by your officials, your permanent officials?
Bluntly, yes.
And how important were the parents in all this?
I think that certainly their persistence played a very large part in their getting what they wanted, and they have now drawn attention to something we've known about, but which we never got round to doing anything about in the past. We've instructed our officers, for instance, that in the spring of next year, they must look around the borough at all the sites that we own and see what sites can be used by other people, other groups of children during the vital summer holiday period for play. Now, I think this is a generally beneficial thing that these people have helped to promote, because they highlighted the school children's, the problem with the school children during the holidays in Islington.
And so a struggle fought by a few determined parents and a crowd of expectant children had brought results no one would have thought possible only a month before.
I think we are seeing a situation in which many families, especially poor people in the inner city, are beginning to say that they are no longer that they aren't going to get a fair deal from this society unless they are prepared to actually stand up and fight for it. That they can't just sit back and wait for the elected representatives or the authorities at either the local or the national level to provide them with what they've gone without for so long, and that they will only achieve it if they come together and organise themselves to work for it. In that sense, I think we are beginning to see the birth of a movement of a much more direct form of political action.
And I cry with passion, let there be wilderness left for my children. But across the child's laughter falls the roar of the bulldozer, and I cry with passion, let there be wilderness left for my son. Under the screech and hiss of progress creeps an army of emptiness, and I cry with passion, let there be wilderness left for my children.